Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Happy Thursday, everybody, and welcome inside the Lock Shop once again. Shout out to everybody on YouTube, on Twitter, and if you just listen to the podcast, thank you very much. If you are watching live, make sure you do subscribe to the podcast. Just search the Lock Shop on all your podcasting platforms, giving you 4 or 5 episodes a week. And as always, the Lock Shop brought to you by our wonderful partners at Coolbet. Feel like Pat or Jake from Coolbet will join us tomorrow to set up a huge weekend in the National Football League. But Dusty and Huss back with you once again. Huss, what's up, man? How you doing?
Well, I'm having a tough time concentrating on anything right now, Dusty, to be honest.
It's been a tough week for you, hey?
All I can think about is 5:30 p.m. Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday. Can't wait. Listen, we'll get to this, I guess, right away. Interesting line movement and definitely a lot more optimism around the Chiefs after seeing Patrick Mahomes do a little bit of running, look pretty good stepping off the podium after the presser yesterday, a full participant in practice, apparently. So I think a lot of the worst case scenarios, which certainly affected the betting line in a big way early on, have been, have diminished somewhat. And that being said, I think there's still a big question mark as to how Mahomes looks in game action, but a little more optimistic than it was coming out of the game on Saturday. Yeah,
no, I think that's probably fair. And we're going to get to that right off the top here. We'll talk about this line movement a little bit. Just still to come, we got NHL. We got a handful of NHL plays for you tonight. Huss is going to lay out the Royal Rumble for the weekend as well. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to comment. Chaz is already on over there. Big Uke. Definitely need a rebound after that Oilers debacle last night. And I would agree as well. A loss at home to the Blue Jackets and you're fighting for a wild card spot, Huss? Come on. Unacceptable.
Yeah, I watched that game. That wasn't probably the A game of the Oilers. Listen, credit to Columbus. They're hanging in there trying to grind out a point or two. Hey, listen, it's the regulation losses that kill you. As disappointing as it was to have that 6-game heater end for the Oilers, still got a point last night, still in a pretty good spot. That being said, every one of these points could be incredibly valuable considering where the Oilers are right now in this playoff race. And they certainly did let one get away on them. Never mind the Oilers. Can we just talk about the Canucks very quickly? Did you hear Rick Tocchet? Game 2.
Oh, buddy, he looks like he's been in it for a year and a half.
I mean, they get pumped yesterday in Seattle. They get humiliated by the Kraken fans chanting, "Bruce, there it is," throughout the third period. And then Rick Tocchet, after 6 periods as the head coach, essentially calls his team soft and calls out the entire group. I can't imagine there's a more miserable place in the league to be right now than that Vancouver locker room. And that includes Arizona, Chicago, all these shitty teams that are trying to be the worst team in the league. I don't think any of it compares to what's going on in that market, and especially within that room.
It is, it's amusing from afar. I mean, and it's only going to get more entertaining before it gets any better. So we'll be on the ice here in just a little bit. But Huss, you talked about obviously main focus. I love how rattled and nervous you are for this game this weekend. It's incredible. But that line, what a week for this line. I mean, you get the Mahomes news coming out of the injury, and then it swings all the way down. I think at some point the Chiefs almost got to plus 2.5. I don't know if it got to, was it at 2.5? It was at 2.5. Now it swung back 3 points the other way, and the Chiefs are a 1.5 point favorite. Is this it, Hutz? Is this where this line settles back in, or does it swing back around to a pick'em by kickoff? What happens here?
I think we get pretty close to a pick'em by the time this thing goes off. I think it'll be somewhat a half point on either side. And listen, I think most people are betting money line on this. I mean, the big question is to when are you going to make that bet?
Yeah.
And as we said 2 days ago on the Lock Shop, when we were looking at Kansas City plus 113, you said, is this as good as it's going to get for the Chiefs? Yeah, the answer to that was yes. Because later on that afternoon, same day, it had dropped down to plus 105. And then again went back into pretty much a pick'em. And right now, the Chiefs are minus 123 on the money line, and the plus money's on the Bengals side of things at plus 106. So this entire game has been a fascinating study in odds and line movement and when you want to get in on whichever side that you were on. I mean, certainly if you wanted Cincinnati, A lot of people did. They jumped on immediately after the Bengals beat the Bills, and there was a lot of steam on them. With Kansas City, you had to have faith and jump on that number when it got big because, as I said, if there was good news about Patrick Mahomes, it was coming back the other way. As I said, I'm not really spending too much time. I joked with a friend about making the bet. The Chiefs were plus 1.5. And I said, listen, I don't want to live in a world where I win the bet and they lose by 1. So it's a money line bet all the way. So if you got plus money on the Chiefs and you wanted it, good for you. Right now, you're laying a 1.5 if you want to get minus 109 or minus 123. But I can't remember a game, certainly a playoff game of this magnitude, where a line shifted 4 points from the opening line and then moved right back to where it started. And that is where we sit right now, just 3 days before kickoff.
Well, just a huge game. The other game has basically been the exact opposite of us. That thing's pretty much been locked in at 2.5. I think I got to 2 very briefly for a couple hours, but that's been locked in at 2.5. There's been no movement either way. Now there's not a lot of news coming out about certain guys missing this game or not being available for this game. But I guess that number was set well, right? Like the money coming in is not really changing anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now the Niners are even money at plus 2.5. And I'm just looking, if you click on 3, San Francisco's minus 123. So that's such a significant half-point movement in a game that's as closely handicapped as this one. I kind of think we'll probably stay in and around 2.5. But again, if you do want to buy the half point, it's there for you. It's just going to cost it. And as far as the money line in that one, it was plus 125 and minus 147, I think, for the Eagles a couple days ago. Hasn't changed too much. Plus 127 right now on the 49ers money line. And as we've talked about all week long, of these 4 teams that are so tightly matched, the longest shot on the board, or sorry, the shortest money on the board is the Eagles money line at minus 149.
All right, full NFL episode tomorrow. We'll give you our official picks. I think we're each going to come up with our own sort of parlay that we can throw up in the exclusive section of the exclusive section over at CoolBet this week as well. And one of the boys from CoolBet will pop by for a visit as well. Huss, let's head to the National Hockey League tonight, buddy. What are you looking at? Where are you going?
Well,
had to get a piece of this Tampa-Boston game, right? Me too.
You know what? I had to. This is the game tonight. When I looked at it a little earlier, it was a straight-up pick 'em at minus 108 on each side. Right now, as you might expect, a little bit of money coming in on Boston, as they've been the class of the National Hockey League all year long. Boston sitting at minus 113 and Tampa at minus 104. I'm taking Tampa tonight. Boston has to lose a game or two. I mean, this literally is first of all, Tampa's been awesome at home this year. They're 18-4-1. I mean, that is right there with the best records at home in the entire National Hockey League. They've already lost twice to the Boston Bruins so far this season. And I think that Tampa is going to really be up for this game. That being said, I can't really say much about the Bruins because they get up for every game and frankly win every game. They're coming off a nice win against the Minnesota Wild after a couple losses to finish up that road trip in Florida. And I'm sure they've had this game marked on their calendar for a pretty long time. For the Boston side of things, I mean, as I said, look at this. They're 10-1 in their last 11 games.
That's like the streak they have all year. They're always 10-1 in their last 11.
You know what? That's a great point. Their one loss was the only time they've lost in regulation at home all season long, and that was to the Kraken about 2.5 weeks ago.
And I had bet on them in that game. I'll never forget it. It was I was like, oh, I'm on the Bruins tonight. They're not going to lose. Kraken have been red hot. They're due for a loss. Didn't happen.
You mushed them. The Kraken, of course, that was part of that crazy 8-0 road trip that I don't think had ever been done in NHL history. Since then, they beat the Leafs, Flyers, Islanders, Rangers, Sharks, Canadians. But this is the game going into Tampa right now. So, yeah, I mean, considering we're actually now getting a little bit better of a number, almost even money on Tampa at home where they're 18-4-1. I'm taking Tampa tonight. just to see if Boston can maybe mix in a loss at some point over the course of the year. And as I say, Tampa against anyone at about even money at home with the way they played so far this year.
Value.
I think there's some good value on it. Anyways, cannot wait for this game to get going. The Flames welcome the Chicago Blackhawks. And as we've said before, it's pretty tough to be even considering the money line. I mean, anyone that was on the money line of the Oilers last night got crushed at minus 385. As I said, it's just not worth it. But I don't mind Calgary on the puck line. And the one that's listed right now is 2.5 at plus 121. We won't get that aggressive. We'll go on the Calgary puck line minus 1.5 at minus 149. And then the other game that I like is the Minnesota Wild. And this one's actually come down a little bit. Minus 220 is the number right now for Minnesota at home to Philly. I rarely would put a number like that or just a straight bet on this, but I was considering parlaying Tampa with Calgary and Minnesota. Although if you want to just Minnesota and the Calgary money line, or the Calgary puck line at 1.5, it's a plus 143 parlay. Not too bad. But then when you throw the Lightning on there, got even a better line when I put it together a little earlier, plus 377. So the game I can't wait to see is this Boston Tampa game, albeit I'm going to be at the rink tonight watching the Jets take on the red hot Buffalo Sabres. And then we're going to throw in the Wild on the money line and Calgary minus 1.5. We'll parlay those together at plus 337. But we're rolling in the single pick money line Tampa tonight to hand the Boston Bruins a very rare and occasional loss in the standings.
Good to be on a team that beats Boston if they actually beat Boston, and you're going to get ahead of it tonight. I'm getting on that game as well. I actually moved the total. It's at 6 right now. If you go to CoolBet, the total sits at 6. I moved it up to 6.5. It moves the number to minus 139. But you've got Ullmark versus Vasilevsky tonight. Both guys are confirmed to start in this hockey game. And I mean, this is going to be a playoff style hockey game. I think this is going to be a good, hard-fought 3-2, maybe 4-2 type of game, which is why I decided to bump it up to 6.5 to get it in here at minus 139.
Hey, you know what? I mean, this actually has been bumped by the odds makers right now. I mean, if you look at it, what I'm seeing right now,
good
6.5, and it's actually a much better line too, Dusty, minus 118. That's a pretty big movement from minus.
That's literally changed in the last 20 minutes. So
yeah,
perfect.
Pretty big move right now. So much better. If you want to get in on that under, it's even better number right now at minus 118 between Tampa and Boston.
And that would be the under 6.5, not the under 6. I'm on Colorado tonight, minus 1.5 here. They're on a tear right now. They get the Ducks tonight. Colorado has now won, what is it, six or seven in a row. They've worked their way back up beyond the wild card spot, tracked down Minnesota for a spot in the top 3 in the division right now. And they haven't even been healthy. I mean, they've been missing Cale Makar for a few of these games. So it looks like the defending champs have their swag back, and they get a Ducks team that's just horrendous. So I like Colorado minus 1.5 to keep rolling tonight at minus 154. That puck line is actually 2.5 when you go to CoolBet right now. So I adjusted that to minus 1.5 at minus 154. And then St. Louis money line tonight. St. Louis is not out of this yet. This is an important game for them tonight. They go down to Arizona, take on the Coyotes. Coyotes have only won 2 of their last 10. I mean, they've been in mail-it-in mode essentially all year. Continues now. St. Louis has to get this game tonight. So I'm a St. Louis money line at minus 150. I didn't put the parlay number up here, but I do have it, and it's plus 373, and that's with that Tampa-Boston line a little bit better now. It'll be a better number than the plus 373. So those are the 3 plays I'm on tonight. Now I'll have the Lock Shop play of the day on the CoolBet socials here a little bit later on today.
You know, the St. Louis, if they lose this game, I think we might count the 3 count. This might be a
that's it, hey?
Game.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost at home to the Chicago Blackhawks and then the Buffalo Sabres. And Buffalo is in a whole nother category.
Not a lot of shame there, but losing to the Hawks.
No, and they're playing really well. Exactly. And when you think about where they are, they're 1 game above 500. They're 6th in the Central right now. I mean, they're 14 points back of the Jets. They played more games than a couple of these other teams at 48, like Colorado and Minnesota. Still 4 games back of Nashville. I mean, they absolutely have to go on a run. And, I mean, if you can't beat Chicago, You can't beat anybody. They got to beat Arizona tonight. I think this will be a desperate St. Louis team. We're going to see them actually here in Winnipeg on Monday in the final game before the All-Star break and trade deadline. Be interesting to see what they've got for the Jets on Monday night. But first things first, they got to get a win at Mullet.
All right, Huss, before we wrap up this episode, let's head inside the ring, a little Royal Rumble. Now, where do you find these? I've been looking around at Coolbet. I don't know if I can't find it. Where'd you find it? Because I was looking at them, I couldn't find them.
Well, right now it's right in the left margin under popular Royal Rumble. I've got NFL,
there it is.
NHL,
Yep.
NBA,
Okay, there it is. Yeah.
NCAA, and then Royal Rumble right above the Farmers Insurance Open. And listen, for those of you that are not into the art of professional wrestling and sports entertainment, you're probably thinking, what are you guys talking about? You can bet on wrestling? Well, yes, you can. And the Royal Rumble is the best betting event of the year. Always fun to get together with friends and do pools and pick guys up and see who wins. But you actually can make, now I'm sure it's limited. You're not putting hundreds of thousands of dollars down on a scripted event, but it certainly makes it a lot more fun. They've got 2 matches that are listed right now. I guess these title matches: Bianca Belair minus 667 against Alexa Bliss, and Roman Reigns, who's kind of been running the WWE for the last couple of years, a massive favorite against our guy, and Bruce Boudreaux's good close personal friend,
Bruce Boudreaux's
Kevin
guy.
Owens. So minus 111, minus 1111, like 1,111. Not worth it.
I got to say this. I was just looking at the men's odds here, and The Rock is plus 200. He has the second best odds. Like, is this happening, Huss? Like, do I got to get on The Rock to win the Rumble?
Well, this is there has been plenty of rumors. And again, the key thing about the Royal Rumble is the winner of the Royal Rumble challenges for the belt at WrestleMania. So essentially, we're predicting the WrestleMania main event here. And Cody Rhodes is the odds-on favorite. He, of course, came to WWE with big fanfare back from AEW and then tore his pec. He's been out for, I think, 8 or 9 months, and it's been leading back to his return. And I think there's a ton of speculation that he's going to be the guy that goes up against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. So that's why he's the favorite at minus 141. The Rock has been rumored over and over again to be part of this event. You can see they just put some new Rock merchandise available for sale in the WWE shop. So take that for what it's worth. But yes, the Rock at plus 200 is next. And then very interesting, Sami Uso, to those of you that have been paying attention. This bloodline storyline with the Usos, Roman Reigns, and Sami Zayn started off really as almost a comedy skit. And it's turned into one of the best and longest running storylines in wrestling in a long, long time. And Sammy's become one of the most popular guys. It seems like at some point there's going to be a culmination of this, which potentially could have him go against Roman Reigns. If Sami Zayn won, it would be hugely popular at the event. Now, if The Rock's in there, I think he's winning it because he's not coming back to be in the Royal Rumble to not win and not fight at WrestleMania. But Sami Zayn, to me, at plus 225 really intrigues me because at some point we will get the culmination of this storyline, and what better to do that than WrestleMania. Other guys that are in the mix, and these are always just fun to see them. Seth Rollins at 5-1, Stone Cold Steve Austin at 10-1. I doubt that Stone Cold's even in it, so I would stay away. From Stone Cold. Kevin Owens is 20-1. Now that's weird because he's already in the main event, but stranger things have happened. You got Drew McIntyre. Roman Reigns at 20-1 is interesting. I guess there's a possibility that he could lose his title match later on and then go into the Royal Rumble and win it to get back into that event.
Now that would be a storyline.
Some weird stuff happens. Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar's at 25-1. We don't even know if he's going to be in it. And then just if you go all the way down, there's always some hilarious names. You've got, pretty much everybody on the roster is listed, but you've got like Dexter Lumis, Grayson Waller, Dolph Ziggler at 175-1, Rey Mysterio, Otis, one of my all-time faves. He's there. Jinder Mahal, But I'm just looking to see if there's any more interesting names that we wouldn't really expect. Randy Orton, 7-1. Haven't seen him in a while. John Cena, 60-1. We don't expect him to be in it, but people will still want to bet it. So there's a ton of names there. I really do think that the winner is going to probably come from that group of the top 3, potentially 4. But I think I'm going to have a little sprinkle on Sami Zayn at plus 225 right now. And again, these will change. I'm not sure if there's anything that changes quicker than wrestling events. And they'll probably be available right now. And they'll probably go off the board on Friday night. Because, of course, there's a SmackDown show. And sometimes that will maybe telegraph or give a bit of a tip going forward. So if you want to get one of these numbers right now, if you like it, get it. Because they'll probably be off the board on Friday. And then this entire card could look very, very different on Saturday. So get your bets in early for the Royal Rumble. There is a women's Royal Rumble, and the favorite is Rhea Ripley at minus 164. And then you got Becky Lynch at 3-1, Charlotte Flair 7-1, Bayley 8-1. Raquel Rodriguez is a newer superstar. I think she's the NXT champ. That might be some good value at 10-1 because this is all often a bit of a springboard for maybe some lesser known people to get right into that main event spot. And then 15-1 on Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Liv Morgan, and Sasha Banks, who's no longer in WWE. I would not be making that bet. And Bianca Belair is already the champ, but she's listed at 2-1 as well. Considering Rhea Ripley's part of this, can't remember what the faction is called. Not the Darkness, whatever. She's with Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio. She's an absolute specimen. She hasn't been wrestling in sort of the women's circuit lately. This would be a perfect way to get her back in, and they've really built her up. So I think it makes a lot of sense that she might be the champion going forward. So Rhea Ripley, the favorite at minus 164, pretty good. And as they say, Sammy Uso, the honorary Uso, plus 225. I'm going to get a little bit of action on that for the Royal Rumble. And by the way, it's Saturday, folks. I know we're used to these wrestling pay-per-views traditionally being Sunday. Not this time. It is Saturday. I wonder if there'll be any bars in KC with the Royal Rumble on.
Buddy, I was already thinking that. I was like, Huss will be watching the Royal Rumble at a bar in KC the night before the AFC Championship game. And you know what we call that, Huss? We call that living your best life. That's what you're going to be doing, buddy. And I think that's going to be awesome. We got a full episode of all of our NFL picks coming your way on Friday. And, man, I like listening to you break down wrestling events. I learned so much. About it. It's great. Now, I'm still just going to get on The Rock at 2-1 to win it because, of course, I'm going to do that for The Rock. But, yeah, great breakdown, buddy. You be ready. Get those picks locked in, and we'll hammer some NFL tomorrow.
You bet, folks. Man, the Final Four in the NFL, picks on both sides, totals. One thing, just quickly back to it, by the way, keep your eyes on the total as well. Much like the line in the KC game moved 4 points. The total went down 2. It's now back up to 47.5. And I think the NFC game ticked up 0.5 point as well. So really interesting line movements. We'll discuss it tomorrow and make our final picks. We'll lock them in. Maybe put together a couple exclusives on each game in the Cool Bet exclusive section and get one of the fellas in with their thoughts on the games tomorrow. I can't wait.